Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with this week's Norma Talks. Well, I'm back from my long trip, my quick trip, long driving, and have suffered some consequences of that as my back was not really happy with everything that went on. But it's good to get back and, as they say, the saddle, when you haven't been in a saddle. And part of that is being present for the YouTube talks, which I now can do because I'm back home and feeling as good as it can be expected. Now, today, I wanted to talk about past lives. I've had some requests for past life regressions. I've had requests and done a few past life readings. So first of all, I want to describe the difference from past life regressions and past life readings. Past life readings is basically where I would tune in to your vibration and find the themes. Now, I could probably just go back and go this life and that life, but I like to look at the themes that you are projecting into this life and find out at least one, if not two, different lives that relate to that theme. And some people have a lot of themes, some people just have 3 or 4. And it's fascinating, some of the themes that come up. Sometimes very, very old themes come, because remember, today, you're acting out decisions that you have made in other lifetimes. And I say other because we do have future lifetimes. Most people have a hard time making their head around that. It took me a while to understand that. But it's like when we take a look, it's what are those decisions that have the effect now. So when I'm looking at past life readings, I usually draw a circle and make just some lines that divide it. Then I take a look at the theme. Could be creative theme, it could be an artistic theme, it could be a warrior theme, it could be a soldier theme. By the way, warriors are very different than soldiers. Soldiers, you follow orders. Warriors, you're very independent. So there are all those things. Explorers, I've seen so many lives, not mega lives, but many lives that have been explorers in the Antarctic or in the Arctic area. I've seen explorers in other ways down in the South Pacific Seas way back when there were just sailing ships. So there's been a lot of things, and also different countries like Africa and being part of a tribe there. And also, again, what are the decisions made in all these lifetimes that have an effect here? What is actually created that you're creating in your life? Some of them you'll like, some of them you won't like. And by understanding where they come from, very often you can actually choose to have another, you might say, decision about things, let things go. But it is the past life regressions that really do the transformation element and when we're looking at lives. A technique I created many years ago, there's many techniques out there, and I created a technique one day, and I'm going to tell you the story of that because it's kind of interesting. The first person I ever went to having a past life regression workshop was a lady by the name of Marcia Moore, and she had written a book called Hypersentience. And she had a very, what I would call more of a traditional approach. We either went over a rainbow bridge or we walked down a road. Didn't really matter. I did a little bit of work with her. And actually at the time we did trades, which was nice. But I did quite a bit, not quite a lot, but enough that I began to sense some of my past lives. There really wasn't any transformation at the end of it. It was like gathering information. Also, soon after I had been with Marcia Moore, another man came to town. His name was Brian Jameson. He had written a book called Explore Your Past Lives, a whole different technique. And I got to spend some time with him. He also taught me about making how decisions work in relation to life. And I enjoyed, to some degree, not perfectly, because I'm more of a sensory, not a century. I'm not that old yet. But I'm a sensory. And his technique was really good and very much in the intellectual. So if I was doing a regression, often for men, but also for other like women who are very intellectual and can't get out of their heads, his technique is excellent for that. So I've always had that in my back pocket, so to speak, that if I'm running into difficulty with feelings, etc., then I can switch to that, and then they'll get results, and they do get results. He taught me a lot of different things, and so I had in my, you might say, my handbag, two techniques: Marcia's technique and Brian Jameson's technique. So I was doing a workshop in Vancouver, and I had quite a few people in the room, and so what I used to do was do Marcia's technique in the morning, have lunch. Then we would do Brian's technique in the afternoon. And then we would sort of choose which one they wanted to do. Well, I had in this workshop, there was quite a few people there. I had a rebellion. I said, okay, we're gonna do this. Which one would you like? No, we want, because I forgot a step. I would choose who to regress and regress them, personally. No, we all want another regression. Well, I was sitting there going, what am I going to do? And at that moment, right, dropped down in my head a whole different technique. And that's the technique I've used ever since. That's the technique I made tapes first, CDs, and still have that I can send out. And actually had a letter, email come in the other day saying that this lady had done a lot of regressions. She had enjoyed my technique the most, which that was nice to hear. So I created this technique on the spot. Very simple technique, but it works very, very well. And it's the technique that I use mostly for people. Again, if they can't do it because it is more of a feeling one, then we'll switch to Brian's technique. And if it still doesn't work, then I'll try some of Marcia's stuff because it was a little different. So why do we do that? Why do we look back? The old why question. Why spend time doing this? Well, I found for myself, it put to rest a lot of questions as to why I am how I am or who I am. It also, because of the technique and because I was already beginning to be in more transforming things, my technique has a beautiful transforming element at the end, because we have a past life and some of them aren't happy. Some of them are not very nice. But by utilizing what I was showing that particular day, where we bring it back to the present and we look to see where we hold that in our physical body. And you can hold it in all sorts of places, not just your head. In fact, mostly not in your head, but in your body. And then we can actually, what I call, and this is another thing, getting connected to the love energy, bring the love energy in and let it go from your physical body in this time and space. Now, we call them past life regressions because at the time we began looking, we didn't realize there were future lives. When I became aware of this was one night years ago, a lot of years ago, I was doing an evening in my home for doing a past life regression. As I was leading people to go, you might say, down deeper, I forgot to say, looking at a past life. I just said to go look at another life. And this one lady jumped way into the future. And that began my realization that we have had lives in the future. That time can be anywhere. You can go anywhere at any time. You go way back into the past, you can go way back in the future, and it all comes. But in this time, you have I don't like using the word lessons, but sometimes that's the only one I can use to explain it. You have made decisions that you're still working out as to what it's all about. And the future lives not everyone can do it. Not everyone can go into a future life. I found that. I have at times, like I was once doing a past life in a spiritualist church, and they're doing a workshop in the afternoon. And one of the people I know, because I've been speaking there quite often and done other kinds of workshops, this one person kind of looked at me with a bemused face, like, what happened? And then what he said was a man, you know, I was in a spaceship and it crashed. And I had to assimilate here because I couldn't get back off this planet. And that is not the first time I've heard that. Just a good way of talking about it, though. I have seen very often when I'm looking at people's souls as to how they get here, that their soul has come by crashing in their spaceship. Usually when people come here, often coming from somewhere else, they come individually or they come as a group. And I've met so many people that say, oh, I'm just looking for my group. Well, there's not, how many million people do we have? So they could be anywhere. And sometimes you do not see them. But it's, I have seen mine. And often if I've said, I used to say at one time, oh, I see you're part of my group. They used to get really frightened. So I don't ever say that anymore. And I don't look for it anymore either, because people are on their own path at different places at different times, deciding where and what and whatever. But there's more. So we've got people who arrive here from crashed spaceships. We've got people that arrive here from planets that have exploded. And I remember the first time I was giving actually a lady a reading, and I said, oh my goodness, it's like something has exploded. Excuse me. And she said, yeah, I kind of feel like that. And then when we did a regression, sure enough, her planet was breaking up. And they do that. They do explode. And so what do you do if you're a soul on a planet that's exploding? You have to go somewhere else, because the soul is infinite. It took me a long time to really accept that. Your soul goes on forever until, I'm sure, and I have nothing to back this, we go back to where I've seen we come from, we go back there. But that's like infinite amount of time. We have so many experiences since first coming is this pure essence of being to when we return. And recognize that we are creative beings there. I always expected to find love, but what I found was beingness, pure aliveness. We're here to experience. Unfortunately, we experience not very nice things. And when we experience not very nice things, what ends up happening, we end up like feeling sorry for ourselves or like we can't figure it out. And I will almost guarantee you've been in the same position before. In another life, in another time, maybe not even on earth, but somewhere else. Because I am surprised when I look to see what the soul is coming here for. How many times I get people escaping, not happy with where they've been, but they don't clear it. So they come and they bring all the stuff with them, and then they wonder why their lives here haven't been the most joyous ones. Hope springs eternal is a saying, and I believe that. I think the more you learn about the inner parts of you, the more you learn about where you're from and what you're doing and how you can express that, the more peaceful you become inside. And the more peaceful you become inside, the more choices you have of what you want to create and where you want to go and what you want to do. But I want you to really understand that your lives are much more than what you're perceiving right now. There is so much more to you, so much more awareness, so much more knowledge, so much more, what would we call it? Just being. I find very often in my transformation work, I'm writing down on my piece of paper, beingness, because it's the beingness of who we are that's important to be. Also important from my perception is to recognize and connect with the law of the lovingness that's here on this planet. Earth is a loving planet. It's about emotion, feeling, love. Well, of course, if you don't have love, you're going to feel sad and miserable, etc. But it's like knowing that, because not every planet has this lovingness that Earth has. It's a very unique planet. And many people come here to discover it. But most come for all sorts of other reasons. Sometimes they just end up here. Sometimes they're escaping something and they don't realize that this is an emotional planet. And then they come in, because most planets seem to be very mental. They arrive here wondering what on earth have they come into? And you just kind of escape. You just kind of say, oh, at least I haven't seen that. Well, don't like it here. I want to go somewhere else. It's like, okay, you've got to learn how to feel here. You're going to need to learn how to accept lovingness, and you need to open your heart and know that you are a part of all that there is. And life gets better. You create easier. You see things. You feel enhanced. You feel more than. So it really is important to know where you've come from. Whether you look at a past life reading, whether you look at past life regressions or future life regressions, because it's the same process. You are more than what you think. You are more, and you can be more, because you've had other times where you have lived and made decisions, and it's those decisions that need to be cleared by the lovingness there is here. And that's what clears them. And that's what takes them away from our physical bodies now. So that's my talk for this week. And I look forward to being back next week, and also on Sunday, a Sunday thought, and Monday for mental mind treatments. And that makes my weeks pretty complete, actually, in many ways. Just want you to enjoy. I want you to know. And I appreciate your comments. I appreciate the thank yous, etc., that I've received. But remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It helps me. It helps if you want to, support. That's how you can do that. In the meantime, I'm going to wish you that very, very, what would be the best word? A great and beautiful, cherished day full of love and light, happiness and well-being. So bye for now.